How does it feel to be in Chicago? We have a new pope from Chicago. It's pretty exciting. One of my favorite things that I've seen on social media is that this means Italy will finally get good pizza, which is controversial. Okay, I now see where we're from in the room. I want to tell you about one of my favorite people in the world, my grandmother. It's a photo of my family. We have 21 members of my family who live in the same neighborhood. And I have to say, we are not in a cult. It doesn't help that my youngest brother and 3 young cousins have shaved heads in this photo. But they all got lice, and my dad decided on picture day we were going to shave their heads in front of the house. What I will say that I love most is the way my grandmother is intentional about our community, not just our family, but those around us. I'm from Virginia Beach, Virginia, which is a Navy town. And that means that our big, loud Thanksgiving gatherings get bigger because for years, my grandmother and grandfather have invited their colleagues in the Navy who are either deployed from their loved ones or who have loved ones stationed away to join our family for Thanksgiving. And one of the things that she does is set at our places a Christmas ornament that she chose specifically for us. My brother loves animals, so she'll find him a dog with a Santa hat. And I love the beach, so she might get me a snowman surfing. And for each of our guests, with the little information that she sometimes has about them, she will take that and find an ornament specifically for them. It is her way of showing us in the midst of all the chaos that she's thinking about us and that she loves us. And we've had people from different religions and creeds and backgrounds join our house for Thanksgiving, and it's made our community stronger and wider and deeper. And I didn't know this when I was younger, but I've come to realize that she is weaving. She is creating deep relationships with people that's not just based on being kind, but on actually loving them and asking folks what they need and using kind of those shared needs and goals to work together to build a more vibrant community. And we need a lot more of that now in the country. There's this crisis of disconnection that we've been talking about today. The stats from Pew are striking, and one of the things that stands out to me most is that 58% of Americans say that they're lonely. We have to do something about this for our democracy, for our communities, for our neighborhoods. And the weaving that my grandmother has done inspired me to both become a minister in the United Methodist Church and to work in democracy with young elected officials all across the country. I'm going to tell you about somebody who inspires me in this work. Ella Baker is a civil rights leader. Yeah, a lot of fans of her in the room for good reason. You may have heard this quote from her, "Give light and people will find a way." I love that. And what I like most about it is that it's not actually something she said. It was the name of a workshop that she led. All across the South, she would bring together everyday Americans, farmers, folks who worked in the inner city, people who wanted to be a part of the civil rights movement. And she would train them on how they could get involved. She believed in the power of every individual to make change. And that's what we need in this world. We need thousands of points of light across the country, helping stitch and weave our nation back together. I am a chaplain at Georgetown University, and I live in a community with a Muslim imam and a Jewish rabbi and a Buddhist monk and 400 college freshmen. And that sounds like a punchline to a joke, but it is not. It's real. We get together and we break bread and we share life and we enjoy company. We talk about the big questions of life. What happens when we die? What does it mean to live a good life? We We talk about pop culture, who won RuPaul's Drag Race that week. And what's really important is that we invite students into the conversation. We model what it looks like to have this interreligious dialogue. People come over for cookies. The priest who lives above me does quesadillas and brownies, which might seem like a weird combination, but is perfectly in line with the diet of a college freshman. And we get together, we do karaoke and have fun with one another. And we needed every minute of this connection that we had built over weeks and months and years when tragedy struck our community. Over winter break, one of our students passed away. And when we came back to school, there were all of these nasty rumors surrounding his death. And I couldn't understand it. It was out of line with the character of what I knew to be these students, and it didn't make sense until an article came out in the New York Times. Halfway around the world, someone found out that people were Googling the student's name. And when they did, AI-generated obituaries and stories would pop up. And when a certain headline got a lot of clicks, 100 more stories would bloom. So all of these different reasons would come out. They called it obituary pirates. I had never heard of such a thing. This taught me a very important lesson. When you're in a crisis, people, even those who are close to one another, will get distrustful. They need to be brought back together in intentional ways. When you're in a crisis, you can surge money to address a problem. You can surge resources to give folks what they need. You can even surge people, but you can't surge trust. And we had to lean on those connections that we made in order to help students make sense of what was happening to our community, in order to have conversations in their grief about the ways that we move forward. This lesson about trust is something that I've experienced in my work with young lawmakers all across the country. Future Caucus brings together millennial and Gen Z elected officials, both Republicans and Democrats, who want to build connections across the partisan divide. We work in over 36 state legislatures, and we even have a caucus in Congress. And we bring them together over social opportunities to meet one another, through policy opportunities to learn together. We do things like swan boats and axe throwing and getting them together over meals. And I want to tell you the story of a particularly inspiring group in Mississippi. Representative Jeremy Anderson and Toby Barker decided in 2017 to launch the Mississippi Future Caucus. And they got together with the under 40s in the state legislature for dinner. It was a great way to bring people together over food. And they started having conversations about how they might work together, not to serve a partisan identity, but to serve a generational identity. We found it's crucial to give people a third space, a third off-ramp that they can find common ground and then work together. And quickly in those conversations, the Mississippi state flag came up, which at the time had Confederate iconography. Pretty soon they realized, no, that's way too contentious. We can't even talk about it. So they said, okay, let's find another area where we can work together. And they brought up housing, and they brought up education. Over the course of the next year, they brought students to the State House so that they could learn what it was like to be a lawmaker. And they even passed some pieces of legislation together, getting student debt relief through and helping making your first home purchase more affordable to young people in the state. And then in 2020, George Floyd was murdered. There was a much-needed racial reconciliation sweeping across the country. And suddenly the issue of the flag was back on the table. And it was this group of lawmakers who had been meeting for 3 years and building relationships and friendships, laying that foundation of trust. This group of lawmakers was the first one to come together and say, let's do something about it. And they got it done. They changed the state flag in Mississippi today that no longer has the Confederate iconography. Just imagine that. 3 years prior, it was impossible to even talk about. They didn't even want to have the debate. But suddenly, they were willing to ask questions and to be curious and to understand someone else's point of view. Not only did they get this law passed, but these Republican and Democratic lawmakers put out a public statement saying why they were standing together to make this change. The problems that we thought were impossible to solve were realities. So imagine what we can do if we spend that time building trust, planting seeds that will take time to harvest, but can bear incredible fruit. I say we don't give up. We have to stay in the fight. That is the thing about trust. Change may come slow, but it will come, and it starts with relationships. Thank you.